once the bus was on the road, they came around and gave us these little receipts, which I've never received on a Flixbus before. My friend gave me this neck pillow right before I got on the plane. There's a point in any bus ride where my back starts hurting, and this time I just stuck the pillow behind my back, and it was a huge help, so I'm so glad to have that. We stopped in this little town on the way. I saw this bank called Erste, which has the exact same logo as the Sparkasse. And I noticed that the hostel actually used Société Générale, which I've also seen in Morocco. And I think I've seen Erste in other countries too. I guess they simplify the name, but interesting to see these familiar banks in different countries. And the drive was pretty scenic, and then eventually we made it to the border, Serbo-Hungarian border, which, yeah, I've heard from other people now, after the fact, that it's kind of a difficult border to cross anyway. I think we spent like 45 minutes on the Serbian side just getting to the first border checkpoint, because there were a few other buses ahead of us, and we had to actually get out of the bus when it was our turn, and each person individually walked up to the counter, showed their passport, got a stamp, and once we were up, it went pretty quickly, but we were like, the bus was slowly crawling forward the whole time. And then once we exited Serbia, we drive the short distance to the entrance to Hungary, and there were more buses lined up and they weren't moving, and I think we sat there for a good while. As soon as the bus pulled up, they said, you guys can get out as long as you stay near the bus, and everybody got out again and was just sort of like walking around, talking, making phone calls, sitting on the grass. I'd say it was like maybe an hour and 15 minutes before our bus was even up, and then we we all got back in the bus pulls up to the front of the line, and then we all get back out. We have to actually go into a building, and the setup looks like what you typically see at an airport when you go through customs. And, everybody went through, got their passport stamped again. Didn't see anybody being pulled aside to be asked any questions or anything like that. They did go in and just walk through the bus really quickly. They had dogs walking around the premises, but not actually checking our bags and the bus. But somebody left, I think it was this Brazilian couple, left 2 boxes of cigarettes on their seat, and you're only allowed to bring in 2 packs of cigarettes. And we waited another additional hour for them to be interrogated, I guess, because of these cigarettes. And then they came out and they said they had to pay a fine, and then they kept walking and they disappeared again, and it was like another hour before they showed up again. So we spent like 4 hours total on the border. I think they planned 2 hours, but it was, obviously we arrived late and everybody was frustrated and hungry. But I mean, maybe this is like typical East European inefficiency. I mean, considering that Germany is my frame of reference for everything, pretty much anything else would seem inefficient. I have been told that there are countries that are more efficient than Germany, but I haven't had any personal experience with that myself. I can tell you, when I moved to France, I held back for a long time, but at some point I just let loose with all of the Germany does this better. Like, everything in France, Germany does this better. Like, maybe a couple things France does better, but I swear, Germany has my heart. But obviously things do run a bit different over here. But after like the first hour after the passport check, when we were just like sitting there waiting for this couple, I guess people started to like get a bit more chatty and like would sort of like break the barriers, like if people who were alone would start to talk to other people. And it was really nice, actually, like the considering that we spent 2 hours there already, and nobody really broke that barrier to start a conversation. I really liked the fact that we eventually did start talking to each other, and I really enjoyed the conversations that we had. I was talking to like the co-driver, the lady sitting next to me, and this other guy. Like, I was asking the driver a bunch of questions about like Serbia, and then I'm like, hey, look, I figured out these 3 words in the 3 days I've been here. I can say, I know that da means yes, dobra means hello or hi, and the currency is called dinar. And then this other guy said something, and I was like, he sounds German. So we started talking, and it was really interesting for me because like I never speak English with Germans, but since we were in a group and everyone was speaking English, we continued speaking English, and then at some point we were just talking, just the 2 of us, in English. But yeah, it turns out he was like some sort of famous YouTuber, so I mean, that was cool. And yeah, then eventually we moved on and finally got this couple back, and there was a lunch break planned. We weren't sure at that point, when we were already 2 hours behind schedule, if we were still stopping for lunch or not, but I think everyone was just really hungry. So we did stop at this restaurant, and a lot of people got something to eat. I was really hungry myself because my whole stockpile of food was already gone. But the menu, even though it was in several languages, wasn't in English, and none of the ingredients were listed, and I just didn't trust that the people there would understand what I was asking if I started like interrogating them about all of the ingredients. So I decided I would just wait and get something once I arrived in Budapest. And just before we left the border, I asked the bus driver if there was any place we could get some water, and he said no, but then he went in the bus and came back and gave me this bottle of voda water. And I know voda means water in Russian. I'm assuming it's the same in Serbian, since there are a lot of similarities. And once we were all back in the bus, he came around and gave us all these little juice boxes and chocolates, which I thought was really sweet, and I think that's something that they probably typically do after any border crossing, because people who are not used to it are going to be really annoyed at how long it usually takes. It's a little something to cheer everybody up and give us all a boost of sugar.